Yo, what's up guys? How's everyone doing? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So we are going to be, of course, looking at Bitcoin, as we usually do. And what we are in right now, it looks very, very obvious. If you guys are in the Telegram channel, link in the description below. It's completely free. You get my TA and some occasional trades. What I posted in there, if I zoom out here and actually switch to the 1 day, what we saw was a rising wedge formation. So we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 if you want to count this one. It looks more like a rising wedge when you zoom in to the 12-hour, 4-hour chart. Rising wedges. Okay, so let's go over what these are for those of you who don't know. First of all, we need to establish what trend we're in. We need to establish, is this an uptrend, or is this a downtrend, or is it just a sideways market? You guys can drop your thoughts now, but we obviously know the answer. We're in a downtrend. So what does that mean? Well, it means the predominant, I can't say that right, the predominant pressure in the market is downwards. It is downwards and has been downwards. And so what happens is when we get a pause in that trend, or when we get a reaction rally, when we get something that tries to fight that trend, it's naturally going to revert back to going down. So first of all, I mean, we can see it most clearly with, these are rising wedges. I guess they're variations of it because these are quite steep, but you know, we get the downtrend started here, all right, 19,500, and we get small reaction rallies that end up going down, a larger reaction rally and down, another, I mean, guys, in essence, these are reaction rallies down and then down. And obviously, we have things like this. These are rising wedges, so this is a much more comfortable gradient to work on. I mean, these are a lot closer to 45 degrees, the magical number in terms of trading and angles. And so what we're going to have is a trend which is downwards, and then things that break up that trend which actually fight against that said trend. And this is very standard, very healthy market movements. We've had a lot of these, and of course we have one right now. So what we do when we're charting coins, when we're charting stocks, currencies, whatever, is we want to look at what patterns work really well and what patterns don't work so well, and then isolate the ones that work well and only stick to those. So recently, for the past month or so, basic candle patterns have been nearly useless in this trend. I mean, I personally have never seen something so strange like this. So we're just going to ignore that. Where the patterns have been useful were before that. And, I mean, rising wedges have been incredibly useful for a long time prior to that as well. And so what we have right now very clearly is yet another repetition of these candle patterns that work out really well. We are in an established downtrend. We do not have new fundamental news. There is no catalyst in the market from when we're going to rise. You know, it's saying, you know, oh, we've got an ETF that's going to be coming out very soon. And since that next ETF news is, today is the 28th, I believe, it's still more than a month away. 29th of September is when that ETF news comes out from the SEC, whether it's going to be accepted, rejected, or even delayed. And since that is nowhere near where we are right now, that selling pressure really stands quite high with us. And I'm reading these comments a little bit. I read one comment about a sort of bullish bias in the market, and this is the next point I want to address because I'm being very bearish. The title is bearish, the thumbnail is bearish. Let me talk about this bullish scenario because I do acknowledge it. Now, I was talking to my VIPs. We had a VIP stream. I outlined all of the possible plays to make profit. We even had a signal which I expect to make a 100% profit once and if it is triggered. Now, one of the possibilities we could see in this market, and it aligns with the Wall Street cheat sheet, is that we are at the disbelief stage. We've bottomed out at a level that has been support many, many times. And now there are some people like me calling that we're going to go lower. And so that's disbelief that we've now started an uptrend. We just don't believe it. And we're going to continue on higher. Now, I find that hard to believe because of the concept of disbelief. It's going to take a lot more than just analysts like myself saying that we're going to go down for this downtrend to be conclusively over. If we look at how it happened last time, you know, what happened is we were in a very long downtrend and people just got bored of the market. They just left the market. It was too agonizing. And then it slowly started to go up and nobody really cared. Because at that point, there was hardly anyone in the market. And so there was no euphoria, there was no nothing. I mean, there was hardly any emotion. Of course, the only one that was there was disbelief. Do you think we're there right now? Probably not. But one of the possible scenarios here is that we formed a rising wedge here. But since the downtrend is over, assuming it is in this scenario, what that would mean is that from here we are actually going to go sideways for a fairly long time, a month, 2 months, 3 months potentially, even longer than that possibly. And then we're going to break up and we're going to start a new uptrend very slowly. In fact, it's not even going to be parabolic, so it will be, if I were to draw this for you, I'm using a trackpad, so this is going to be really hard, but it would be something a little bit like this, and then very slowly ascending upwards. No one's even going to notice it, that kind of a thing. That's the kind of thing we're looking at for starting a new bull run. Alright, I can tell you right off the bat, there is almost a 0 chance that we're going to start a bull run from right here. And that we're going to see 11,600 within 2 months. Almost 0 chance. I highly, highly doubt it. The next run up is going to be very slow, very controlled, and most people aren't even going to care because they'll be shaken out. Most likely. I've never been in a bubble pop cycle. This is my first along with most of you. So I am also going into this with hardly any expectations. But we'll look at how it's previously worked out, and that is usually the case. But as for this bearish scenario, we're going to break down, most likely. That's how all of these patterns have worked out. It's kind of undeniable at this point. And we're going to be looking at targets of, first of all, 6,000. Now, this 6,000 support from where I'm looking at it is very weak. It's a very weak resistance level, rather support level, because we've tested it so many times. And to be honest, even the last time we tested it, we should have broken down. If we zoom into the 4-hour and look at the pattern we had, I think I covered this in the last stream, but we were somewhere like over here. And once this loads, our pattern was very clear. Obviously, if I take this off, it looks kind of obvious with this trend tool on. But, you know, we have these short rising wedges, these pauses in the trend, rising wedge, and then another pause in the trend. I believe it goes on a little bit longer, if I'm not mistaken. And then what we have is actually breaking down. So this isn't, it doesn't go longer than this from what I think I was mistaken there. Doesn't matter though. That trend looked fairly obvious, and obviously the move up, I think we've all established, was manipulation. Obviously the move even up to 6,800 the first time was also most likely manipulation. Good thing is this time this chart is not loading. This time what we do have is a steady, slow ascension up to 6,800, which is exactly what we want in a market like this. We want it, if I go into the 4-hour again, and we compare how last time we went up to 6,800 in one candle, in 1 wick even, but this time it has been much more controlled, and we're actually forming a bull flag here. So as for the sort of midterm trend, almost definitely going to break down. We've seen this many times. The selling pressure is still here. It's overriding the market right now. I mean, there's basically no denying it. If we go into the daily now and take our EMA ribbon, we still are encountering this resistance. Now, for the short term, my analysis is slightly different. I'm going to go into that. This chart is taking forever to load today. For the short term, my analysis is slightly different. I actually think we're going to go a little bit higher before we go down. We do have our daily EMA ribbon. We've been trading in it for quite a few days now, including this wick that we had back... What day was this actually? This was on the 22nd of August, so we've been trading in it for a fair bit. Now, usually that doesn't matter, because, you know, we trade in the EMA ribbons fairly often, and we still end up going down, just like we did back here. Find many more examples. Actually, I can't. So, there you go, I can't. There's only one by the looks of it. But it's still not alarming that we're trading within this EMA ribbon. It does not mean that we're bullish in itself. What it does mean, though, is that we're holding up in this ribbon, and the chances of us breaking up are fairly high now. What we had last time was trading in this ribbon for a long time, a bit of a drop down to complete our inverse head and shoulders. If you guys will remember, we did long this in VIP and got like a 2-3x gain or something. 3x actually, yep. And so you could see that we were testing this EMA ribbon fairly often. We were literally trading in it for like a week or so. And then we ended up rising above. So you could call this a fake break below support. You could call it that. I'm not saying you should. We could potentially very easily see the same thing here. I don't think a drop down to fake this out is necessary. I can just see it rising from here fairly steadily. If we can go up with volume, even better. And I am expecting levels around 7,300, so that's going to be around where resistance is. I've showed VIP all about that, my very in-depth analysis on it, so they've been completely clued in. Actually, I can't remember when I got this, but this was actually quite recent. This month in VIP has taught me patience. It's really good to get that out of the way. No overtrading. A good way to conserve your capital. Like I said last stream, guys, one of my hobbies is to not lose money, giving you the opportunity to grow it faster. So if you guys want to pause and read this, go ahead. It's just one of the many messages I've been getting from members in VIP. You know, we haven't been trading very much because of this range, but that knowledge is still you know, definitely very much there, and it's incredibly powerful to keep a level head like this guy was able to do, or girl, I forgot, was able to do in this kind of a market. I mean, the number of people losing money right now, we look at alts and things like that, they're ranging right now, so people are getting euphoric and starting to buy back into them. But to me, I mean, it just looks like if the overall trend is still down, what makes you think your Pundy X is gonna is gonna hold at this level? What makes you think Walton Chain is gonna hold at this level? It's not. I mean, if the trend is down, these coins will go down. Look at the volume. It was at 9.5, roughly, even potentially lower than that if I'm not mistaken yesterday. We're now up to 11 billion. It is a decent sign. We're still in very poor volume territory, but it's nice to see that jumping up. That $10 billion area, like I said, being respected, and obviously, what's the word? Being used as support, I guess, as a bounce zone, which is obviously a pretty useful thing to have. I actually wanted to share this chart with you, the potential opportunities if we do actually go down, if we go below support at about 5,800. If we look at VPVR here, this is an indicator, as you know, showing volume trading. And what typically happens is we enter areas of high trading volume, and anything that happens in between that is really not a big deal. So if we leave this area of high trading volume and enter an area of low trading volume, as we enter this area, that volume bar will increase, obviously, but we'll most likely end up seeing the next area of high volume. And obviously this area of high volume is as high as, the $8,000, $9,000 range. So that's quite significant. And I think that if we drop below 5,800, that gap, as I wrote as a bit of a joke, it would be a pretty fun area to trade. The profits would be, you could even close your eyes and just short anything, and you'd start to make some really nice gains. I'm seeing these messages about joining VIP, guys. I will get back to you. I forgot to say, if you wanted to join, the link is in the description to join Gold. Go in Crypto Mafia Gold and click on my name there. It is the only way to join. I have so many impersonators now, it is quite ridiculous. Back to this chart, though, the possibilities of us going higher, I do think it is possible. There's a lot of bullish sentiment in this range right now, and obviously we expect that. What's happened here is, this is really important, pay attention to this part. What's happened here is, we were sideways for a very long period of time. We have been trading within about 10%. Let's actually calculate that so I'm not wrong. Yeah, 9.33%. Let's actually see how long this has been. I think like 19 days now, 18 days, right? So nearly 3 weeks. We've been in such a small range for such a long time. And so what's happened is we are now hypersensitive to price action in Bitcoin. So when prices are about 6,600, there is the sentiment that, oh, maybe it can go up, but I'm still not getting my hopes up. And then when we get into 6,730, you start getting the shit traders thinking, oh, maybe it's time to long now. And this did not happen at levels like these, because we had a lot more volatility. So we were used to big swings. I mean, we were used to like 10% moves per day. But now we're not. Now we're used to even 1% moves per day. So when we go into a range that we typically don't touch, what's going to happen is we become hypersensitive to these ranges, and so the trading becomes very unpredictable. Right now what we've got is a bit of a stalemate between these bulls and bears. As you can see in the past 3 days, this candle will most likely close as a doji, unless something happens within the next 4 hours, when this UTC day closes, roughly when China and Korea and the like wake up. That could change, but as it stands right now, since we're not used to moving in big numbers, it actually means that there's a lot more uncertainty than we usually have in this market. It's simply harder to say what could happen. And that is something to be very, very aware of. It is why I'm not trading in this range yet. Once we go higher, like I said, we have a potential play in VIP, which if the order does get filled, we're almost definitely going to see 100% gain. That is a play I will be making, but it's not in this range right now. Of course, if you want to find out, go ahead and join. But it is something where you minimize the risk. Right now, I think even though I think the trend is fairly certain that we're going to go down. You can, even a low leverage short would probably work out for you. Even though that is the case, I still feel like the risk right now is just a little bit too high. Now, going back to this point of being bullish at the top, so obviously this is a very small range, but of this range, we are currently at the top of this range. And so naturally, what we're going to see at the top of this range is media news to reinforce this. Alessio Rostani, watch his most recent Bitcoin video. He covered the news that insiders get and the news that the masses get. Now, I'm not personally a huge fan of thinking of it that way. It's most likely true anyway, but I just don't think of it that way. But nonetheless, what we are getting is the most bullish news when we're at the top of a range, and the most bearish news when we're at the bottom. I mean, just look back to Cointelegraph or anything, right? Anything that reports on Bitcoin, and look at the news that was being reported about, 6,000, 6,100, and you can see what's up. I mean, you hardly have to look far to see exactly what I mean. But since we are at the top, we are getting a little bit of bullish news. This idea, like Alessio said, that insiders get all of the real news and things like that. Obviously, they could be getting the bearish news now, the bearish rumors, whatever. Again, I'm not going to be paying attention to that, but it's still something to note nonetheless. This is a range, it's at an equilibrium right now. We're right at support. Resistance. It doesn't make sense to put a long order in right now. The only safe order is a short play right now. But like I said, I do have my reasons to expect us to potentially rise above 6,800 fairly soon before we do continue on downwards. I think the likelihood of that is very, very high. As for that, though, I think I've covered most of everything. I mean, just the Ichimoku clouds, lastly, I want to touch on briefly. We're about to break out of this 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. This is one of the small reasons that I think we're going to rise above 6,800. The next candle is most likely going to, it is the UTC close candle. I believe we're in that candle, actually. Yeah, we are, my bad. So this candle, if it does close green, anything that's green with this candle is going to end up breaking out of this Ichimoku cloud, which would be quite an important deal. The 4-hour Ichimoku cloud does not carry much weight right now anyway, so it's not very important, but it is something to be aware of. It does mean we're leaving an area of resistance, and blue sky breakout potentially is one of the catchphrases we might want to use in this kind of a range. Yeah, apart from that, the daily Ichimoku cloud is still telling us we have resistance. That resistance is slightly higher. Again, one of the small reasons I think we might range higher, but these are weak reasons. There is a lot more to it. It's a lot more nuanced than that. But obviously, other than that, I am ready to go through your questions now and see what's up in this space. Before I do, though, please make sure to smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, join the Telegram channel, and all that good stuff. You guys know I love it when you do all of those things, especially the likes and subscriptions. If you want to catch all of my other content, Rostani doesn't know shit. He is on a losing streak for some time now. Smooth operator, being on a losing streak does not mean you don't know shit. Read a book. Total loser's mindset. Where do you believe a close above would negate the head and shoulders on the daily? Ryan, a close above 6,800 technically would negate the head and shoulders on the daily. Now, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, let's plot that real quick. Head and shoulders, typically very bearish pattern. We are playing it out to a T right now. It's a beautiful head and shoulders pattern if it were to play out right now. It means we've tested a high 3 times, not the same high, but roughly testing 3 highs. So 6,800, 8,500, 6,800. We get rejected all 3 times, and so that means the selling pressure is still dominant. A head and shoulders pattern can be a continuation pattern, a continuation of a downtrend, or it could be a reversal pattern, in which case it would have formed over here, and that would be a reversal of an uptrend. I don't like head and shoulders patterns. They are very inconsistent. You can draw them in a lot of places. Let's FUD Ripple. They're not my favorite indicator, but since this one is playing out beautifully right now, I am paying attention to it. I am watching it. There is a chance that, you know, that 6,800 is at the end of the day, it is resistance. We can show that, we can see that with the VPVR indicator. Again, you guys know how much I love it. I mean, it's something that is the meaning of life. You can see that we've got a high level of resistance right now. Sorry, high level of trading volume right here, and it is resistance. You know, there is resistance to leave a range like this. The deal is, once you do leave a range like this, there's a lot more room to range higher. Yeah, sorry, what would negate that? Well, 6,800 technically would. I think a level more like 7,000 would, you know, 7,000, even 7,100, if we're being very, very loose with it, would potentially negate that. That factor. Bleach, smash that like button. I'd love to see that. It's not about right or wrong. It's about risk to reward. Yeah, that is it, JD. 100%. I have luckily short at 6,900 with a manipulation pump. Very nice one. Do you think it's safe to keep it open at 25 leverage? That is not a question for me to answer. That's for you to know, my friend. Could you explain how we can crawl up over such an extended period of time with such low volume? It is wash trading. Bobo, this is the thing. So the volume right now, even on the green volume, is declining as we're going up. So this would not indicate that we're going to rise higher. So I don't know what you mean by wash trading, but if you mean something like it's just arbitrary and it's manipulation, or, you know, it doesn't matter, it's a fake out, that kind of thing, I agree with you. I do agree with you. But the reason I'm saying I think it can go higher is because we need to expect it, just in case we start putting in short orders now, and then our liquidation price is like 7,050 and it rises above that and we get liquidated. So we need to stay aware of that. And that's why, you know, that's why I think it is still possible for us to crawl up. I mean, because it is an extended period of time. That's why I think it's possible. Does USD market has any correlations with Bitcoin when it ran from 6,000 to 8,500? Niche, I believe there was an instance of the USD topping out. Let's actually throw that chart on and see what's up. Let's not be lazy. USD index. What have I done? US dollar index, I guess. They want to be picky about it. Yeah, there it is. So 6,000 to 8. Okay, so there wasn't anything in this case. No, I mean there was a, you know, a short-term top, and then going there. This is the USD chart, by the way. It's comparing USD to many other things. The correlation I was thinking of was actually this one here, where USD topped out. It's been a bit of a I mean, you can't really analyze USD very well in this case. I mean, you don't do conventional, oh, it's a rising wedge, you don't really do that. But it did top out, it's been going down, Bitcoin's been rising up slowly. Is there a correlation? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it's so important. The big correlation I'm concerned with is when USD bottomed out and the rest of the crypto market bottomed out, or rather when USD reversed and the rest of the market reversed. If you want to see my video on that, there is a big thumbnail saying USD and the King crown. Go ahead and click on that. It's one of the recent videos. And you'll be able to see what I meant over there. See what else we got. The Fibonacci curve is not a town in Italy. That is hilarious. Head and shoulders are not continuation pattern. Jay Lee, they absolutely are. Go ahead and research them a little bit more. Most likely bottom. That is not for me to say. I mean, if you mean the absolute bottom, like 2,000-3,000, I have no idea. I'll think about it when the time comes. For now, I'm just going to trade it on the way down, multiply my portfolio a couple times, and worry about the bottom a little bit later. As a Bitcoin maximalist, I don't see why you would not trade alts like Ontology, Nano, Quark Chain to get more Bitcoin. It's surely safer than playing on leverage if you take your time, set stop losses. Timeless being, you see, with most of these alts, you can only buy and sell them. And buying them is a little bit crazy, because you have to predict when we're going to get a rising wedge, and you have to predict when that rising wedge is going to stop. So actually, it is not safer than playing on leverage right now. As long as you can control yourself, and you don't gamble with it, you are controlled, you have strict rules that you do not compromise on under any circumstances. If you guys remember, back in May, I was at my low point of trading and a lot of other things in life, and the only way I was able to change that was by sticking to very hard, uncompromising rules with leverage trading. And that's what started to bring in the 2x gains, you know, weekly, even more than weekly. It is having a very strict set of rules, and that limits that safeness. I mean, it I guess, expands on that safeness factor. Shorting alts, though, trading alts on leverage is definitely an option. Any leverage exchanges for crypto in the US? Sibsy, try out One Fox, the number one Fox. Try out Kraken, commas, something like that. 3 commas, I think. 3 comma, I don't know. Don't think a bull run. I missed that. Where is it? Where is it? I've lost that completely. Oh yeah, don't think a bull run happened in 2018. Yeah, there is music. I think we ran out of time for that. Can you show the reversal chart? You mean the inverse chart? Yes, I can. Let's take a look at the inverse chart. Bitmex. Yes, let's go. Okay, so what are we looking at here? I mean, still, the reason I don't look at this very often is it's always the same analysis. The overall trend is we're in a downtrend. We paused in this trend. We've tested this resistance. We've been rejected by it many, many times. So we're going to go down. You know, it really, I mean, it's hard to say more than that for something like this. Very typical. You know, this line can be moved now. As it turns out, it was incorrect. Let's go ahead and I can't click on that. Okay, there we go. So, you know, something a little bit like this. Yeah, I mean, this is still valid, and I still believe it is true. My long-term prediction for Bitcoin is still up. We are in a very, very solid uptrend. Even that uptrend has not been broken yet. You know, we're in a sort of long, I call it, my idea of long term is much shorter than most people's, but we are in a very long-term uptrend, or rather downtrend in this case, and what's going to change that? I mean, we've been hitting resistance many times, volume has been declining, which means that this is a continuation pattern, and a continuation pattern means that it's going to resume the trend, and that trend is very much down. I don't see how anyone can argue with this chart. If you can, please let me know. The only response to this is that potentially we are actually in some form of an ascending triangle, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and that could be a reversal pattern. Very much the case, potentially. I don't know. I don't stand by that though. You know, there are a million different ways to interpret every chart, whether you're bullish or bearish, and of course your job is just to figure out which way is most likely. What is the problem with higher volume? Nico, there is no problem with higher volume. That is great. Any way we go, any direction we move in, I want to see higher volume, because that's going to confirm that movement. Bull run 2020. D Sega, I definitely believe we could be seeing a bull run by 2020. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time away. 2019 even, yeah. I'd like to think so. I don't know. It doesn't matter, because I trade on leverage, but a bull run is always nice. We start being friendly with each other again. So yeah, it would be good. Can't one shoulder be larger than the other? Last, yeah, it can, and that's why I mentioned you know, 7,000 could even be the top. Yeah. We up and down lowered lows until next Bitcoin halving. Yeah, Chile, I mean, it's definitely possible that by the next Bitcoin halving, this market stays rather stale. Definitely a possibility. I do not do analysis like that. Analysis like that actually is fundamental analysis, and I am not a fundamental analyst. I'm a technical analyst. That's why I trade these shorter time frame movements and pick up my 2x gains and then leave and walk away, and then repeat that a couple times. That's where I think that's where most of the gains can be made. That's the wealth creation, and also to an extent, yeah, wealth protection. Yeah, I've gotten to that stage as well. And wealth protection is pretty cool. That's why I haven't been trading so much. What do I think of Bitcoin Cash? On a fundamental level, I hate it. On a technical level, I think it's amazing to short. I really do hate Bitcoin Cash, though. It gets me pretty pissed off, so I'm not really going to talk about it much. You guys think you're some kind of experts? Okay, when the reality is TA doesn't work in crypto. Look at Smooth Operator. Number of shorts getting liquidated proves my point. Look at Smooth Operator. Wow. Wow. No shame in being an idiot like that publicly. I'm just gonna ignore it. I've answered that many times, so it doesn't really matter. Looks like a V-shaped recovery. Where does it look like? This is not a V-shaped recovery, if you mean this. Absolutely not. I mean, this is too, what's the word? It's too unsteep, whatever that means. It's not steep enough, rather. Put it that way. Let's see what else we've got. Could Ether found support now at this November 17th low? Short answer without even looking at the chart, probably not. Unfortunately, breaks my heart to say it dropped this crazy support level. November 17th. Let's check out November 17th. Is this 17? Where's November? There's no support. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no support. Unless you mean against Bitcoin. I don't look at the Ethereum/Bitcoin chart though. How do you read volume? You get volume bars on the bottom, so you can decipher that. Basically, when you look at volume, you just want to establish, can you look at the trends in the volume? That's the only important thing. Do I have a video on how to margin trade with leverage? Alex Mo, yes I do. Type in 4flies space Bitmex and many more leverage trading videos coming soon. It is a huge area to tackle, I think. Yeah, VPVR. Yeah, that's gonna come. That is gonna come. VPVR video. Which will be your prediction for the possible bottom if you even think we will keep on going down? Augusty, like I said, that's not where my analysis is good. My analysis is not for guessing the bottom. No one can guess the bottom. That's why I say I don't do it. You know, no one can guess the top. No one can guess the bottom. So I won't even try because it's useless. I'll put that energy somewhere where it can make me money. You know what I mean? So, do you have a video on how to margin? Okay, I just answered that. Dude, nice stream last night. Thank you very much. Are you talking about the VIP stream? That's the only stream I did yesterday. Lol, what a fool. Smooth operator idiot. Okay, yeah. I kind of feel bad for roasting him a little bit. I mean, I think he called for it though. This week we constantly hit higher lows, so surely that means we're going up. Ricardo, probably rewind the stream. I've acknowledged that. Yeah, it's a rising wedge, so that means higher lows, higher highs. 4 hour Ichi Cloud went over that as well. Can you explain the fees on Bitmex briefly? Blitz Trader, I think that's for a different video, which I think I should make because the fees are a huge area to be aware of as a trader on Bitmex. Definitely, I will cover that. Don't worry about it. What program website are you using right now? I am using TradingView, tradingview.com. There is a link for it in the description. Do I think Ethereum Classic will increase in value due to its Coinbase edition? It hasn't happened yet, Yusuf, if that's how you say it. It hasn't happened yet. So no, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be a Coinbase pump in speech marks. I don't think that's going to happen. Every stream is great. Thank you very much, Bleach. Three commas isn't an exchange, but an app that lets you trade easily on other exchanges. Okay, just a tool. I got it. All right, that's good then. We had a higher low in Bitcoin. That's bullish. Can't ignore that. I think you're blowing that out of proportion. Very well could be the case. You know, we've got a lot of talk of ascending triangles. If I show you what that is right now, this is not something I chart. I don't think it means anything, but I will show you nonetheless. I believe we're looking at something a little bit like this. Take off these things. And obviously, yeah, it is a higher low. Okay, you can't even draw that, can you? Right, so I mean, we had lows of about, you know, 5,900, 6,800, 6,000, even 5,800, and so this low most recently has been higher than that, higher than the previous low. It doesn't, you know, this is two lines. I mean, it's 2 points on a line. When we're looking at real trends, we want to see a much more historical, long-term sort of trend, and that is absolutely not what we're getting right now. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah, I mean, this is not anything significant. you know, hardly anything to take note of. That's why I don't draw those kinds of lines. The only lines I'm interested in are horizontal resistance points. That is the only thing I like to look at. Do I like lasagna? Of course I do. It's bloody amazing. Volume video, please. A whole video on volume? I'm not too sure how I would do that, but I will look into it. JBell, how do I make the screen dark? Go ahead and click on the gear icon on the top right, and then click on theme dark. That's all. What price do I think Bitcoin and Ethereum will have this week? I'm not going to answer that. That's not like an insult to you or anything. I just have no idea. Rising wedge works 70% of the time. This time we could see the 30%. Yeah, you could say that every time though. The deal with that, I saw, I think it was the Moon who said that they have a very low success rate. The Moon, great guy, I'm actually talking to him a little bit. He mentioned that rising wedges have a low probability of playing out. It's something like 50%. Perhaps in conventional trading. But, again, if we look at Coinbase, I guess, in this case, these rising wedges have played out. I mean, it's been an undeniable trend, something that has worked out many times. And because of that, it is a pattern that Bitcoin respects. If you can show me a rising wedge that hasn't played out with Bitcoin, I might sit back a little bit. But it's, you know, almost always been the case. So when you get an indication, and oh god, I can't speak again, an indicator that works so consistently with one asset, you want to stick to that for as much as you can. Smooth operator leaving the chat, thank you very much. No one really wanted you here. EOS to shill. Check out the daily MACD. I don't look at the MACD, I don't really like it. What would make you turn bullish now, the next hours or days? Yeah, the only thing that would make me turn bullish right now is a series of green movements backed by huge volume. That is the only thing, and I mean crossing 8,500. That would be a pretty good sign. But I want to see volume backing big pumps. That's the only thing that would turn my sentiment right now. Unless something else comes out that I didn't think of, obviously. 60% of the time it works every time. Right, but it's not 60%, and it's nearly 100, I think, with Bitcoin. You know, what's an exception to that? Okay, I think this is the one exception, right here. Right here, this is the one exception. So if I replay the chart, I mean, this is not something I would have bet on anyway, but yeah, this is you can class this as a rising wedge, but obviously at the time we knew it wasn't a rising wedge. I mean, this is almost exactly where I gave the buy order, the buy signal in VIP. I told VIP members to buy right at about here. In fact, it was lower than that, and that worked out pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, rising wedges I think are a very solid indicator to go off for Bitcoin. If you are going to go short now, where would you have your liquidation price? Dennis Frost. My chart is not loading up again. I would place that ahead of important resistance levels. All of that information has been expressed in VIP though, so I can't share it here. Suggest you keep watching this video. He wasn't that smooth to me. No, he wasn't at all, was he? Been selling on the way up. We better fall. Yeah, I mean, you might be in luck. You might be in luck. I'm feeling we're just going to go down at 65.80s and then some kind of big move. Daniel, what makes you think that? I don't think that's a very significant level. It has only been significant for the past 2-3 weeks, and like I said, we're blowing these movements out of proportion. Ryan, how do you become a VIP? Go ahead and click the Crypto Mafia Gold link in the description. It's the first link there. And then click on my name at the bottom of any post in gold in that channel. The link will take you to. And then message me from there. Like I say, it is the only way. I have a lot of impersonators right now. All very sad, miserable people. Can't think of their own business plans. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, guys, if we can smash up those likes. The Timmy J, thank you very much. Been waiting for August 28th for 2 weeks, bottom time. Maybe. I've heard of this being an important date. Maybe. What is the Bitcoin USD shorts chart really showing? The shorts are not showing us anything new right now. That's why I didn't bring them up today. It's had a bit of a pullback. It's now consolidating in what could be a bull flag, but like I said, we don't analyze this chart, so really I shouldn't be looking at it. There is nothing to extrapolate from this right now. Nothing new. These shorts will naturally rise when more people start margin trading. So that is quite likely what we have seen. Yeah, BCK, why don't I give Bitmex signals for alts? Very good question. I don't do them yet because I know Bitcoin's movements really well. Like extremely. I feel the pulse of Bitcoin, and I am bloody Bitcoin. And I'm not Satoshi, obviously. But because I understand Bitcoin so well, it means that I don't understand alts so well. I mean, they don't go hand in hand, so they're not mutually exclusive, obviously, but I just don't spend as much time on alts yet. What I've been doing is, over these past few weeks, learning alts as well as I've learned Bitcoin. So I've been staying quiet about it because I don't feel like my skill set is good enough for alts yet. You know, when I start trading on something, one of those very strict rules I mentioned that I made back in May was to be 100% certain with every trade. I've broken that rule a little bit, but with alts, right now I am perhaps 70-85% certain. With Bitcoin, though, I am usually 95% certain. And so that's where I want to be. That's where I want to be, yep. So yeah, in answer to your question, I will be going to alts, just not quite yet. Yep. But guys, with that, I'm going to be heading off. I hope you've all had a good time watching this stream. You've learned something, you've gained something, all of that good stuff. If you have, make sure to smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, join the Telegram channel, every call to action that exists, buy my mug that doesn't exist. Okay, I'm getting a little bit excited. I'm going to head off now. Thank you very much. I'm out. Peace.